Jamdi Absul. Hello, everyone. It's been a while, however, I'm glad to be back. Virginia Tatch here, and I welcome you to this VOKK TV series to rediscovering and preserving the Khmer Krom identity. On this joyous occasion, I hope you all celebrated Khmer New Year, and I want to extend my warmest wishes to you all. May the year ahead be filled with many opportunities for growth, success, and happiness for you and your families. I wish you all a very happy and prosperous Khmer New Year. The Khmer Krom Federation, KKF, an organization seeking justice for the voiceless Khmer Krom in Krom, have sent its youth team to represent KKF at the 20th second session of the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, UNPFII, in New York City that started yesterday, April 17th, for the next 2 weeks until April 28th. I wish the KKF youth team the best of luck and success. I know you all will make our people proud for your endless hard work and dedication in speaking up for our voiceless Khmer Krom people back home. In recent years, the Khmer Krom people in Krom have been using the internet to access information and learn about their rights. They have been sharing UN documents and organizing events to celebrate the UDHR, UN DRIP, and International Women's Day. However, their efforts have been met with arrest, detention, torture, and forced confession by authorities in Vietnam. The recent incident where more than 10 Khmer Krom were summoned and detained for merely organizing and participating in International Women's Day on March 8th is a blatant violation of their human rights. One of the Khmer Krom, Dan Set, was detained for over 24 hours and was subjected to forced confession to sign a letter written by the police. After signing the letter, he was forced to read the confession so that the police could record it. This inhuman act clearly violates his right to freedom from torture and inhumane treatment. Vietnam, a member of the United Nations, signed 7 out of 9 treaties and also signed to adopt the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, UN DRIP. However, the Vietnamese government continues to deny the right to self-determination enshrined in these treaties and the UN DRIP. This is particularly evident in their refusal to recognize the Khmer Krom people as indigenous peoples, instead labeling them as ethnic minorities. The Khmer Krom people have been struggling to gain recognition as indigenous peoples for decades. They have faced discrimination and marginalization, and the Vietnamese government has suppressed their cultural heritage and identity. Vietnam argues that there are no indigenous peoples in its borders, and that the term indigenous is used by colonizers to look down on the people in Vietnam. However, this argument is not supported by historical and anthropological evidence. Vietnam's refusal to recognize the Khmer Krom as indigenous peoples is particularly egregious because it denies them their right to self-determination. Self-determination is a fundamental human right that allows people to freely determine their political status and to freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Vietnam argues that the right to self-determination cannot be determined or cannot be exercised in the Vietnam because the people in Vietnam already achieved that right during the French colonization. This argument is problematic because it fails to recognize that the Khmer Krom people were not part of the Vietnamese nation state then and was subject to a different colonial power. Moreover, Vietnam's argument that no one can seek the right to self-determination in Vietnam is flawed. The Vietnamese government has a duty to respect and protect the rights of all its citizens, including the Khmer Krom people. The fact that they have been denied the right to self-identify as Khmer Krom and to exercise their cultural and linguistic rights is a violation of their human rights. Vietnam is a member of the Human Rights Council, which is supposed to protect and promote human rights around the world. However, it is clear that Vietnam is failing to live up to the responsibility particularly when it comes to the rights of Indigenous peoples like the Khmer Krom. Let's continue to urge the following to happen. The international community must call on Vietnam to recognize the Khmer Krom people as Indigenous peoples and respect their right to self-determination on their ancestral lands. The international community should also urge Vietnam to implement the UN DRIP fully and protect the human rights of all Indigenous peoples in Vietnam. The United Nations must take a more active role in monitoring and supporting the implementation of the UN DRIP in Vietnam. The UN should provide technical assistance to Vietnam to develop and implement policies and programs that respect and protect the rights of Indigenous peoples. The UN should also establish a monitoring mechanism to ensure that Vietnam complies with its obligations under the UN DRIP and holds them accountable for any violations of Indigenous peoples' rights. The international community, including governments, civil society organizations, and human rights groups, should continue to raise awareness and advocate for the rights of the Khmer Krom and all Indigenous peoples in Vietnam. They must pressure the Vietnamese government to take action to recognize and protect their rights. Let's work together to seek justice for the Khmer Krom in this new year. Som Akun, Chom Liep Lia. Thank you.